Once upon a time, being a kid in Britain in the 1980s meant living in a golden age of excitement, wonder, and just a little bit of envy. Because in every playground, every TV advert break, and every aisle of Woolworths, there were toys that didn't just capture your imagination, they defined your childhood. Some you managed to get your hands on, others stayed forever in the realm of begging, pleading, and promising to be on your best behavior if only Santa or your parents would give in. These weren't just toys, they were status symbols, the kind of treasures that could make you the hero of the street or leave you pining if you missed out. So let's rewind to that magical era and count down 10 toys every 80s kid in Britain begged for. And trust me, you'll remember the thrill, the longing, and maybe even the tantrums. Let's start with one of the most iconic of them all, the Transformers. Before the blockbuster films, before the endless merchandise, Transformers were simply magic in plastic form. One moment, you had a toy car or a jet fighter in your hand. The next, with a few clever twists, it stood proudly as a robot warrior ready for battle. For an 80s kid, this was the ultimate two-for-one deal. Vehicle and action figure all in one. Parents, of course, saw the price tag and sometimes balked, but children, they didn't care. They begged, they pleaded, they dropped hints in letters to Father Christmas, and the adverts only made it worse with their booming taglines, "More than meets the eye." In the schoolyard, owning Optimus Prime wasn't just cool, it was legendary. You'd be surrounded by jealous friends as you transformed him from truck to towering leader. Even the smaller, cheaper Transformers carried weight, but the big ones, those were the crown jewels. The toys kids dreamed of unwrapping on Christmas morning. But not every kid was into robots. For those with a love for soft, cuddly friends, there was a different obsession, the Care Bears. With their colourful fur, friendly faces, and little symbols on their tummies. Care Bears weren't just toys, they were companions. Each one had its own personality, from Cheer Bear to Grumpy Bear, and kids wanted to collect them all. They weren't just plushies. They came with stories, TV episodes, and the promise of caring and sharing. Parents were charmed by the wholesomeness, but let's be honest, children saw them as essential members of their bedroom squad. For many little girls, and plenty of boys too, Care Bears were the must-have comfort toy. And if you didn't have one, seeing your friend tuck their Care Bear under their arm as they walked into school was enough to make you feel like you were missing out on something special. Even now, for anyone who grew up in that decade, just glimpsing a vintage Care Bear can unlock a flood of warm, fuzzy memories. On the other end of the spectrum were the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles action figures. Yes, in the UK they were called Hero instead of Ninja, but that didn't dampen the craze one bit. Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael weren't just turtles. They were your heroes, your friends, your after-school TV companions, and the figures brought them to life in your hands. With their colored masks, their weapons, and their fearless expressions, they were a playground currency all their own. Kids staged epic battles on bedroom carpets, complete with improvised sewer lairs and pizza parties. The toys sold out fast, and parents sometimes had to queue or call multiple shops to find the right turtle. Because if you were the kid who had all four, you were untouchable, a legend among your mates, and heaven help the kids stuck with only a foot soldier, because we all knew the turtles were what everyone truly wanted. Of course, no list of 80s toys would be complete without mentioning the mighty Cabbage Patch Kids. These dolls were a phenomenon, sparking frenzies in toy shops across the UK. What made them so irresistible? Part of it was the clever marketing. Each doll was unique, with its own face, its own clothes, even its own adoption certificate. You weren't just buying a toy, you were adopting a child. For kids, that sense of ownership and uniqueness was intoxicating. Parents, on the other hand, sometimes faced chaos. In some parts of the world, there were literal stampedes in shops to get hold of these dolls. In Britain, queues stretched, shelves emptied, and if your parents managed to snag one, it was like winning the toy lottery. Children paraded them proudly, gave them names, and treated them like family. For many 80s kids, the Cabbage Patch Kid wasn't just a toy. It was a memory stitched into their very childhood. Speaking of chaos, let's not forget about the BMX bike. Now, strictly speaking, it wasn't a toy. It was a ticket to freedom. But to 80s kids, a BMX wasn't optional. It was essential. Every child wanted to be the one racing down the street, pulling wheelies, and showing off the latest tricks. BMXs were more than bikes. They were a culture. Magazines, competitions, and even movies made kids desperate to join the craze. Parents knew they were expensive, but how could you resist when your child swore that everyone else had one? The truth, of course, was that not every kid did. But if you were one of the lucky ones, your BMX became an extension of yourself. For many, it was their first taste of independence, their first way of exploring the world beyond the end of the road. And for those who didn't get one, the longing never quite faded. Next up, the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe figures. If Transformers were about technology, He-Man was pure fantasy. With rippling muscles, magical swords, and colorful villains, these toys created an entire world where good and evil clashed daily. Skeletor, with his skull face and evil laugh, became as beloved as He-Man himself. The figures were chunky, durable, and perfect for epic battles. And then there was Castle Grayskull, the ultimate accessory, a fortress that every kid wanted but few could afford. It loomed large in adverts, with its drawbridge, traps, and secret chambers. Owning Castle Grayskull was like being crowned king of the playground. The He-Man craze swept across Britain, and for years, kids begged their parents for just one more figure. It was the kind of obsession that defined entire toy boxes. But 80s Britain also had its fair share of high-tech wonders, and few things sparked awe like the original Nintendo Game Boy. Released at the very end of the decade, it was chunky, grey, and powered by endless AA batteries. But to kids, it was pure magic. For the first time, you could carry games like Tetris, Super Mario Land, or Pokemon just on the horizon, wherever you went. Long car rides transformed into adventures, and playground bragging rights suddenly revolved around who had the highest score. Parents groaned about the price and the batteries, but kids didn't care. The Game Boy was a revolution, a dream made real, and one of the most begged-for gadgets of the era. Then there were the Star Wars toys, which still command legendary status today. By the 1980s, Star Wars wasn't just a film series, it was a cultural juggernaut. The action figures, ships, and playsets brought that galaxy far, far away into living rooms across Britain. Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Princess Leia, Han Solo, kids wanted them all. And then there were the Millennium Falcon and the AT-AT Walker, massive toys that seemed impossibly cool. The adverts promised endless adventures, and children believed it. Many begged relentlessly for a lightsaber, even if it was just a plastic tube that lit up. Star Wars wasn't just a craze, it was an identity. To be the kid with the best figures was to be the center of the playground universe. We also can't ignore the My Little Pony craze. With their colorful manes, brushable tails, and sparkly symbols, they were every bit as collectible as action figures. For kids who loved imagination, they offered endless possibilities. You could brush, braid, and style them, or create whole storylines of pony adventures. The franchise exploded, with TV shows, accessories, and entire pony stables you could buy. Parents often sighed at the number of ponies cluttering bedrooms, but kids couldn't get enough. The idea of just one more was irresistible. For many 80s children, My Little Pony was a treasured part of their world, something they would beg, barter, and save pocket money to add to their collections. And finally, we come to one of the most ingenious little toys of the 80s, the Rubik's Cube. Simple in design, yet maddening in execution, it was the puzzle that took the world by storm. Bright, colorful, and deceptively easy-looking, it became a playground obsession. Some kids claimed they could solve it in minutes, while most of us just twisted it endlessly, convinced we'd eventually stumble upon the solution. Parents loved that it was brainy. Kids loved that it was trendy. And if you were lucky enough to master it, you instantly became a legend among your peers. The Rubik's Cube was more than a puzzle. It was a badge of honor. Looking back, what ties all these toys together isn't just the plastic, the batteries, or the price tags. It's the memories, the sense of longing, of circling toys in catalogs, of making wish lists and dropping hints, the way Christmas morning could transform your whole world, or how a single toy could make you the envy of your friends. The 1980s weren't just about toys. They were about dreams in colourful boxes, promises of adventure, friendship, and fun. And that's what made being a kid in 80s Britain so magical. It wasn't just the toys themselves, it was the stories we created with them, the friendships forged through them, and the memories that still shine today. So, which of these did you beg for? Did you unwrap one on Christmas morning? Or are you still haunted by the toy that got away? Share your memories in the comments. Give this video a like if it took you back. And don't forget to subscribe Britain Rewind for more nostalgic trips into Britain's past. Until next time, keep those memories alive.